Well, we'll stay on that. You can actually get more updates on our website, newscentral.africa. Let's head to South Africa, where President Cyril Ramaphosa has succeeded in getting an urgent interim interdict against his predecessor, Jacob Zuma. A full bench of the High Court ruled in Ramaphosa's favor today after Zuma tried to begin a private prosecution against him. Zuma wants Ramaphosa to be prosecuted along with State Prosecutor Advocate Billy Downer and journalist Karin Mon, who he accuses of leaking Zuma's medical records. Ramaphosa had accused Zuma of abusing the legal process by trying to prosecute him. In the meantime, Jacob Zuma Foundation spokesperson Wanele Manyi has hinted that the former president might take the case on review. The legal expert Benedict Favour is joining me now to discuss this further. Good to see you, Benedict. The High Court has ruled in favor of President Ramaphosa, essentially blocking Zuma's efforts to prosecute him privately. Now, how did the court reach this decision?
Yeah, the court reached a decision on three themes, essentially, which were put up by Zuma as the defense to the president's application. The first theme that Zuma put up was that the court did not have jurisdiction, and his central argument in this respect was that because the private prosecution was a criminal matter, it was something to be dealt with by the criminal courts and not by a civil court. The second theme was that the matter was not urgent and that the president had not established the requirements for urgency. And then the third theme was that he had not established the requirements for an interdict. In respect of the question of jurisdiction, the court made it clear that there'd been case authorities that go back decades that had made it clear that a court can actually have the authority to interdict or stop a private prosecution that had been initiated on an unlawful basis. So the court did not have a difficulty giving effect to the previous cases that had been decided on that particular point. Insofar as the urgency was concerned, the court was very clear that the issue at stake was the president's personal freedoms, and that given that South Africa's constitutional democracy is premised on the foundations of freedom and dignity and equality, it would not be a great thing for the courts to allow anybody to subject themselves to an unlawful legal process that would take away those rights, those enshrined constitutional rights. So the court found that the matter has to be urgent, because if the complaint is around an unlawful legal process, nobody should be have their freedoms taken away on that basis. And that dovetailed nicely into the next requirements for an interdict, because the central question there was whether the president would be suffering any harm. And once the question became about the president's fundamental constitutional rights, then it became easy for the court to find that.
And let me jump in here, Benedict. While the people, the country, and even other essentially concerned Africans are waiting to get a sense of that, the court was also here in the first part of the case, which focused on the urgent interdict. But the case, we understand, is not yet over. So how is the next part, which we're actually dovetailing into, is expected to unfold?
Yes, so the interdict was to allow the president to make an application to set aside the summons and the certificate that ostensibly allowed Zuma to prosecute him. And what the court ordered was that the parties must enroll that application as quickly as possible so that there can actually be finality. So the part B will be where really the real legal questions around whether Zuma actually has the ability to prosecute the president. So those questions will actually be ventilated in full in Part B, and the Deputy Judge President ordered that that matter must actually be enrolled as quickly as possible, and it will actually be overseen by him in a case management process.
And Benedict, before I let you go, the presidency has welcomed the court outcome. However, could Ramaphosa have a case to answer for not intervening, specifically concerning the Billy Downer and Karin matter?
I think it's completely ludicrous what Zuma, the case he's bringing. I don't think he has a valid basis in law. I think it is a frivolous case eventually because, firstly, the president does not have the constitutional and legal power to intervene in a criminal process. And I think it would be wrong to be able to prosecute somebody where he actually doesn't have the ability to conduct anything, where his hands are tied as a state official. So, I think ultimately this matter is not going to end well for Mr. Zuma, and the president would actually be ultimately successful.
Benedict Favour, many thanks for unpacking this for us.